Coming up on Regarding Men, Finasteride. Is curing hair loss worth the risk?
Hello, friends, and welcome to Regarding Men, where we hold men in high regard and where red pill isolation comes to die. There it is. I'm Janice Fiamingo, and I'm joined by my two comrades in arms, Mr. Elam, Eloquent Elam of,
Eloquent Elam, I like
uh,
that.
of
Evil.
paulelam.com, and Golden Mr. Golden of Men Are Good. The name says it all. And today we're discussing a serious men's health issue that has to do with a drug called finasteride. It's made by a pharmaceutical company called Merck and Company, and it's quite commonly prescribed, as far as I know, to treat mainly
Uh-oh.
non-cancerous prostate enlargement. And I think it's quite commonly prescribed. In 2018, there were nearly 9 million prescriptions for finasteride. It's known by a number of brand names. One of them is Proscar, I think, Proscar, and Propecia, Propecia. And I think there are others as well. And so this is fairly commonly used. And if you read about the drug, and certainly if you read what Merck has to say about it, it will admit that there are some side effects, but it says that these side effects are very rare. And also, quite importantly, that they go away when one stops using the drug. But over the last few years, there has been a growing awareness that, in fact, that isn't the case, that many men, or at least a significant minority of men, experience very dreadful side effects that actually continue even after the drug is discontinued in use. And there are now over 1,100 men suing the drug company, and information is coming out about what Merck may have known about those side effects and how they may have understated them. And they're terrible side effects. They include erectile dysfunction. They include very serious depression and suicidal ideation. And well, we just want men to know about the possible side effects of finasteride, and to be very well aware of them before considering taking it.
Indeed. This is a risky drug. I mean, I think it's 4% of the people have problems, but who knows if that's the case? Who knows? Because I mean, they've sandbagged on the amount of problems so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't more than 4%. But the symptoms they talk about are really serious. I mean, some of these genital symptoms are very odd. Not just erectile dysfunction, but your penis feels cold. It's like, oh, something's wrong with that, and it's just a lack of desire to do anything, And
Yeah.
I think there was, what they say, 47 suicides out of those 1,100. It was 47 of them were suicides. So this is a very risky drug to take, gentlemen, and this is not so bad. That's not so bad. Don't worry about the hair. Worry about your health. Ay ay ay.
And normally in these discussions, one of the first things I would say is that none of us are medical experts. That of the three of us talking here, we're not giving anyone medical advice. And of course, I think it's obligatory to tell people, you get medical advice from physicians. However, while that is still true, I would also urge people to follow some of the links that we're providing below and read into these studies for yourself. Be an informed consumer. One of the studies that we'll link you to below cited 9.4% of the people evaluated reported sexual dysfunction. That's a huge number. That's
Yes.
nearly 1 in 10 reporting sexual dysfunction after using finasteride and dutasteride, which is a derivative. I think Merck also makes that as well. But you're also seeing, as we'll get into this discussion here, a backlash from the medical establishment against the idea. This is a very lucrative drug. It's prescribed for BPH, which is benign prostatic hyperplasia or prostate swelling in men, which happens to most of us as we age, and for baldness. So this is given out to millions and millions of men for those two, primarily for those two reasons. And when you're talking about people becoming suicidal, their sexual lives disappearing, you need to inform yourself before you take this drug. That's what I'm suggesting. Yes, talk to your doctor, but just because your doctors, we've found many times in history that just because your doctor is willing to prescribe something does not mean that it's good for you, that it's curative, or that it's not dangerous, because
Yeah.
plenty of drugs do have dangerous side effects.
Yes. And this
Hmm.
is one of
Yeah.
them.
It certainly seems like it. The article that you sent to me, Tom, which we'll include in the low bar as well, by Reuters, which tells the story of various lawsuits. Many of them, unfortunately, it sounds like they have been settled out of court by Merck. But some of which are still going ahead, a particular one being carried forward by the widow of a man who committed suicide as a result of taking this drug because of hair loss, realizing that it was causing him all these horrific symptoms, going off the drug and still being not free of the symptoms. The symptoms simply persisted. And it's a very poignant story of what he endured, and her anger at the company. And it includes quite a bit of suggestion that Merck has known that the side effects were worse than what they reported. Partly, I don't understand how all of this works exactly, but there was some discussion about the fact that they did a drug trial, but they didn't count in the results those men that had dropped out of the trial
Right.
because the side effects were so bad.
Right.
So they underreported because they didn't report these men as experiencing side effects because they hadn't gone through the whole trial conveniently. But the reason they dropped out was because it was so awful. So and they interviewed doctors, many of whom, going on the word of Merck and their reporting about these trials, would inform men about the side effects, but would reassure them that the side effects stopped if you stopped taking the drug. And of course,
Right.
there's a world of difference between risking temporary side effects and risking permanent side effects.
Correct.
Most people, I think, are, if you're really worried about hair loss, for example, you think, well, okay, I'll try it. If I have these horrible side effects, I can just stop taking the thing. But if you know that you may get those side effects and never be able to be cured of them, and there are no known treatments for these horrific effects.
Right.
So yeah, it's a really terrible thing, and indeed, it seems as if many physicians have been misguided and don't know the reality.
Yes. And as much as the drug company sort of hid the results of this, it turns out that in this article they talk about the judge also hiding the results, redacting things so that people couldn't see it. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like they're working together, the judge and the pharmaceutical companies.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's more than just them. I mean, that's bad enough. But one of the things that struck me about this, Tom, if we could, can we go back to the graphic that we had just before this with the headline of that study? This is incredibly suspect to me. Here we
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
study that is insinuating that all these men reporting these side effects from using finasteride are part of some mass delusional syndrome. And they even included, as you look down into that study, that homosexual men were more likely to make these reports than heterosexual men. Of course, the implication could be there that, if you're reporting this, you might be gay. Uh,
Mm.
and this is some scary stuff. I've never seen a study that dealt with the reported side effects of a medication in a way that points to mass psychogenic illness uh, as this one is. This is awful. I mean, how do people even do this with a clear conscience? Um, they don't have any proof. There's nothing in that study that proves that this is some sort of shared delusional problem. There's no evidence for it whatsoever. But it poses, and they're doing what they do in the media these days. When you want to make an insinuation, without making the insinuation, you frame it as a question. And this is
Mhm.
exactly what they've done in this study, inferring that all these suicidal men, these depressed men, the men experiencing sexual dysfunction, all these horrible side effects are just crazy. In other words, they're hysterical.
Yes.
And I mean, to get Freudian about it, it is a hysterical reaction, and that might mean that your sexuality is in question. This is about as low rent as it possibly gets for medical science, in my opinion. I can't believe that they're actually doing that, and there's no way that Merck isn't behind that headline. I
Mhm.
guarantee it.
Yeah, I'd love to see who funded that study, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe the judge says we're not supposed to know.
I think he does. I think he
Mhm.
does.
Yeah.
It is
And
interesting.
Merck seems to have its talking points very well in order because it talks about how hair loss itself is something that lowers self-esteem, right? So therefore, many of the side effects, such as depression and suicidal ideation and lowered sexual desire and just feeling bad about yourself, they are now saying that, well, of course the men feel these things because the men have experienced hair loss and these are the natural effects of the hair loss rather than the effects of the drug that's being given for the hair loss. So they place themselves in the role of the saviors. They're offering this drug that can help these men get over these terrible symptoms that are caused by the hair loss. So it's a very neat circle for them, and the denial of responsibility is really worrisome.
Yeah, and the feminists would say what? They'd say, "Oh, that's blaming the victim," which
Yeah,
in this case it literally is.
it literally is.
They're
Yeah,
blaming the
exactly.
men for their own side effects. You
Yeah,
know, it must be your fault.
yeah,
And they can get
yeah.
away with all of this crap, because of gynocentrism. If this were reversed and it was women who were having side effects from a certain drug, do you think for 1 minute they'd say that they were delusional? They were
I
suffering
wouldn't.
from a delusional disorder? Potential
No.
mass psychogenic illness? Ha ha! Hell
They
no!
they wouldn't be able to get that sentence finished before the lawsuits would be filed.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, baby. Everybody
And a
cares about
judge would
women.
and a judge would be on a crusade with them
Yes, he would.
in that case.
We're going to tear this drug company apart, looking for the truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Crazy.
this is some scary stuff. I mean, I would suggest anybody, if you're experiencing urine hesitancy, which again, with prostate swelling, once you're past 40 or 50 in men, this is a normal part of life. This is something we have to contend with. If you're experiencing that, I would just urge everyone strongly not to rush to their doctor looking for something in a pill bottle that's going to fix it. There are other
Really?
options with this. As a matter of fact, one of the things I wanted to point out, and we'll provide a link below, there's a new treatment that they're calling Resume, and it actually uses steam to shrink back part of the prostate. It's not considered an invasive procedure. It's done without a general anesthetic. They go in locally and do the procedure with steam. And it's having some very good results. And there's no known sexual side effects like there is with normal prostate surgery and with these drugs, which do have known side effects. They haven't experienced any of that yet. again, I'm not an expert on this at all. I urge people to investigate it for themselves and make very informed decisions, but we will provide a link below to that. As far as baldness is concerned, what can I say? Um, it's not cancer to
Really?
lose your hair. Uh, it's just not. And we do see a lot of men pursuing all kinds of extreme measures to try to get their hair back. And I guess I get it in one way. On another part, this seems to be the one characteristic in men is about hair that sort of parallels what women do, which is all this incredible spending on physical appearance, on cosmetic surgery, on cosmetics themselves. This is one area where men tend to be willing to spend. Um, uh, I tell you what, if your hair is that important that you're willing to risk that, I would personally reassess what was important to me.
Yeah, the cosmetic industry is $64 billion a year. 64 billion. And that's compare it to the NFL, the NHL, and the MLB together is I think 32 billion. So I mean that's a huge, huge industry. And you're right. It's all about, trying to look good. And why do men do that? Because of the dominance hierarchy. I mean, a bald head makes you go down in the hierarchy. You don't want to appear like that. You want to appear
Unless you're Michael Jordan.
and that's true. When you're at the top of any hierarchy, as Jordan is at the top, all bets are off. All rules are off. You can do whatever you want to do, and everyone will go, yay! But most of us are not Michael Jordan. Most of us have to live by those rules in the dominance hierarchy, and men will try and strive to get up as high as they can. I can understand that.
But it's not worth it when they're giving out drugs that
No,
result in
no,
people killing
no.
themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I mean this is way too scary, I think, to risk it.
Yeah, some of these stories that they told about these men
horrible.
are just very, very upsetting to
Yeah.
hear. I mean, these are good men who are fathers, who are loving, who are
Yeah.
having a great time in their life, they're successful, and then all of a sudden they start taking this drug, and boom, their life literally falls apart.
Yeah.
Everything falls apart. Not just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but everything.
Yeah.
From their sex life to their relationship to their job. They quit their jobs and they jumped. This one guy jumped in front of a train. He'd had it. He could not do it any longer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is critical for people to know that this is one possibility. Don't do it.
And a not insignificant one from the looks of the
God.
numbers. We really don't know actually how significant, but it's
Right.
way too risky, as you said, Tom. I think
Yeah.
to take the chance.
Yes, indeed.
And a lot of this research, unfortunately, is brought to you by the same research physicians that give you all the health benefits of circumcision. Of course, and that has nothing to do with the fact that circumcision is a $1.2 billion industry in the United States. Absolutely nothing to do with the
course
money at all.
not.
It's about your health. You need to cut the end of your penis off in order to be healthy. That's what doctors will tell you in this society. And I think we're getting the same line of bullshit about finasteride from them. There's big money behind this.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're not going to find any real problems.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Some fellow was telling me the other day, how can men be expected to give consent when their first sexual experience was basically without their consent? They were raped by a metal object cutting off half their dick. I mean, seriously. That's a man's first sexual experience. Those men who have been circumcised. It's nutty. Absolutely nutty. Ugh. I don't even want to think about that crap.
Well, yeah, if you can slide that one past, man, I guess getting finasteride into
Exactly.
this is pretty easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But anyway, we wanted to throw this out there to you guys to educate yourselves. A lot of our audience is reaching that age or at that age, and all of our audience will be at that age at some point or another. You can go into that time of your life prepared with a lot more information than the drug companies or your doctors are ever going to give you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a sad
Yeah.
state.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so stay healthy, guys.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your hair, and investigate, other options if you're experiencing this non-cancerous prostate enlargement.
Yes. Go steam.
Go steam.
I like that.
Well, at least we give it a look see.
Yeah, man.
And certainly consider that a treatment that's done one time may be a lot more beneficial than drugging yourself up.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
Indeed.
And with
Indeed.
that happy
I
note,
guess I guess we'll end by saying that men
Are?
good.
All right.
There they are.
Okay, guys.
Oh, indeed they are, and fathers are essential. Indeed. You all take care.
Have
Take
a
care.
great
We'll
week.
see you
Bye-bye.
now. Bye-bye.